Hello again. It's me, Monsterforge, and I'm back for another video working on my Sculpting a Critter series, where I've been showing all the folks watching how I sculpt one of the figures that I make, one of the little minifigures. And these are a little bit bigger than some I've done in the past. Most of the time, the ones I did in the past are about 2 inches tall. These are closer to 3, or like 2.5, 3 inches tall. A little bit bulkier. And the good thing about them is get to have more detail doing it that way. But anyway, I'm still kind of under the weather. Firmly convinced it's just sinus mess. But I have 2 cough drops in my mouth right now, praying that I won't be hacking my head off like I was in the last video. But we'll see. Anyway, not the best video quality, I know, but just trying to share what I do. And what I do is not produce videos usually. I produce little minifigures. But anyway, left off, and this little guy was, he hadn't been cooked in the oven yet. He was still soft, this top part of the head here. But I figured we'd work some more on his face. The face is like just about one of the biggest parts of these little guys like this, the little super deformed styled figures. The face is very important. And I figured we'd start this time with the teeth. And I just want to show some different techniques you can use to make teeth like this when you're doing kind of a stylized little critter. But anyway, let's let's go ahead and get started. I did some testing around to see which style of teeth I like the best with this little guy's look, and I've already decided, and so we'll finish up with that one. But I'm just going to show you some different ways. What I'm going to do is just kind of roll out a little coil, you know, the Play-Doh snakes you made when you were a kid. Just a thin coil, about yay big enough to fit in his mouth comfortably. And I'll just kind of tear it off at the edge so that it fits nicely in there. So you see it just kind of looks like another fold, but that will actually be the mouth. And what you need to do is take some type of tool. You know, I'm going to use the round ball tool. I'm probably even start with the bigger one because the mouth is a little bit bigger than that. And just kind of roll it, give it, you know, make it a little bit flat, a little bit more flush. And just kind of work it down. You don't have to push it deep down into that mouth and up against the edges, but, you know, just enough that it's kind of flush. And one of the simplest ways to do the mouth, teeth in the mouth, like if you want a jagged, sort of cartoony teeth, it's my trusty pocket knife. My dad gave it to me ages ago. It's just about as dull as a knife can be because I don't really use it for cutting anything. I use it for cutting clay, but, you know, nothing that would need a blade. But anyway, it's flat edge. You could use a screwdriver, you know, a flat screwdriver. I think that's called the common bit, whatever, or anything you have. I also sometimes these sculpting tools like this will have an edge that's a flat edge, and you can use that too. But I'm just going to use this this flat edge on here and just kind of press in and make marks like so. And you're making just jagged, you know, sort of, I'm trying to remember the name of the cartoon characters. Sam and Max, the little rabbit and dog that were detectives in the 90s. I don't know if they ever had a cartoon, but I know it was a comic book. But anyway, the little rabbit out of the duo had teeth that were just jagged, you know, almost like shark teeth. And it gives it kind of a cartoony look. And this would be perfectly fine for this guy. Just continue to do this and just kind of stay in the line that you were. If your tool isn't wide enough to fill that whole gap, you know, and you can vary the shape, the width of the teeth and things like that. But that's a perfectly fine way to make kind of cartoony teeth like that. And you know, you can even go in after you do that with something like the tool that I've been using, the nut pick, and kind of round them out a little bit, give them a little bit more depth. You know, maybe press them in a little bit, so it's not quite as cartoony. It's still going to be cartoony doing them like this, but this kind of allows you to round the teeth out a little bit. It's pressing those shapes in a little bit more and causing the clay to recede from the outer edge. You know, anything like that that'll give it a little bit of personality would be good. And he'd be perfectly fine. I mean, and see, the thing is with the teeth like this, you could even make this guy like a hammerhead type character, which he kind of is. You know, if you wanted to, you could sculpt these little the eyes out further and put his eyes on the end of stalks, and he'd be a neat looking hammerhead guy, especially with teeth like that. But let's say you don't want teeth that are sharp and jagged like that. You just kind of pull out what you've got in there, and because you haven't really pressed it all that hard, it's not gonna, you know, you're not gonna have much of it sticking, and you can basically get it back out really easy. But, you know, just using the same piece that you had because it was the perfect amount, roll it out again to a little coil, you know, a little cylinder of clay, and do like you did before, putting it in there flat, kind of pressing it like you did before. You know, doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection comes later on. And we're never going to get perfect. That's the thing about being a human being. We're not perfect creatures. But, you know, it's close to perfect. But, you know, you'll make it better. You'll smooth it out a little bit. Now, this is a tool. I think I showed it in the first video where I was showing the tools of the trade. And this is just like a little etching tool. It's used with those little etching kits you can get at Dollar Tree stores or dollar stores or, you know, discount stores. But the most important part about it is, and you might can find this shape in other places, it's just a flat shape that's sort of leaf-like. And what's neat about it is, if you look at half of that shape, you know, the little edge right there, yeah, it's sort of shaped like a tooth, you know, like a tooth in your head, like the part that tapers towards the gum. And you know, we'll make the end of it blunt and flat. Now, this is if you want to have teeth sort of like a horse. What I would do is just take this and press it in and kind of turn it back and forth. And what you're doing is you're creating the edge of the teeth going into the gum. So you can make sort of a toothy grin this way. And it's really comical because you give him almost like really goofy, horsey, human being type teeth. And just do that all the way around, and then you would come to the underside of that and kind of straight across from where you had the point on the other side, put the point down and do it here. And sort of follow where you would put the teeth across. And you'll see as you do that, it starts to make kind of a rounded shape in the middle there, almost like a diamond. And it's really a lot like teeth look when they're lined up. And then, you know, you can see it's like teeth in there, but what you would want to do is you can use this tool to do it, any kind of flat tool. I'm going to use this long blade. You see, so dull. I couldn't cut myself if I tried. But anyway, this flat edge here, just kind of follow the middle line of the teeth and just kind of run it through and continue it on to the other side. And now you have funny little horsey teeth. And, you might want to break them up a little bit in the middle there where it kind of pulled when it went across the clay. And so you have, they just, it looks like somebody with a set of dentures, really. And that's a perfectly fine way to do it. If you don't have something like that tool, one thing you might want to do, pull his teeth out in here. It's a fun thing about working with clay. You can just pull it right out, especially if you've cured or cooked the part that's underneath. Once again, we're going to take a little strip of it, put it back in there, and this time I'm just smoothing it out with my fingers. You can use the ball, but finger's fine. This is something I made. I just took a metal. I just took a wooden dowel, split the end, and put in just a regular piece of malleable wire. It's a small gauge of wire. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Just a few millimeters. It's not even millimeters. It might be like one. Not sure. But anyway, it's very small. Very, very small in diameter. I made a little loop at the end. Now, this is not the strongest wire. It'll bend if you push it. But if you're just pushing it into soft clay, it does a really good job of making a mark. And, it has kind of like the roundness of teeth. And you can sort of just put it in there like that. And, you just kind of, it's almost like you're just printing teeth there, making that line to suggest the gum line. And, you don't push it all the way in because you don't want it to go all the way across. And you can basically do the same thing you did with the other tool. And you can vary it up some. Like, they don't have to be straight across. You can have one of them that's a little out of whack. You can have some crooked ones, things like that. Come on, cough drops. And, again, you can use a flat tool to just kind of make the line of the teeth between there. And you can make, you can do it as a long line, or you can put it in a spot and push one tooth up over to the side, so you get some variations in the teeth, and push it between the teeth to kind of space them apart a little bit. But that's just a couple of different ways to make teeth. Now, what I decided I wanted to do, just pull these teeth out. I think it's always funny when you pull the teeth out, it's like, whoop, he's got his dentures pulled out. Anyway, enough of that. I wanted bigger, more monsterish teeth in his mouth. And it would allow him to still be kind of comical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take little individual pieces of clay and just push them into the mouth. And I'm going to start at the front teeth and just kind of push that in there like that. And since I'm doing them individually, I can kind of trim them how I want. And give it exactly the shape I want. You could kind of leave it there and just have a really goofy looking little guy. Do a little bit of blending. This isn't quite as fast a way as those other ways I was showing, but this gives you a little bit more control over the way the teeth are going to look. And you just keep building. I find it's better if you start with one tooth and it just becomes kind of like a wall to build against. And, you can shape them however you want. You can have some of them shorter than others. And kind of go back and forth if you want sort of like a jigsaw type tooth fit, Either way is fine. You can give him, you know, one really big tooth if you want to. You know, like have a big goofy tooth kind of sticking out like a tusk. Not quite ready for that yet. Yeah. And none of these I'm pushing completely into place yet, because I'll do that whenever I go back over everything. So I think that's all I want for that side. Add a little one right here next to this one. And, you know, I'm leaving some fingerprints right now, but I'll clean them up in a minute. You don't sweat the things like the fingerprints at first. Kind of want to shape this up a little bit. It didn't quite go in the way I wanted it to. And, you know, if you don't feel like straightening it up like this, you can always just pull out the tooth that you put in and put another one in that fits better. You know, like if I change my mind about a tooth here, I think I'm going to give him a big, sort of a tusky tooth right here. Kind of like that. Yeah. I think I like that. Yeah. It's very uneven, and I don't even have a very uneven, sort of crooked smile. And now I can go back in and sort of straighten things up a little bit. You might want to use the smaller metal ball to get into places where you couldn't with the other tool. And I think it just gives him a lot of character with the jagged, kind of goofy teeth like this. And, you know, this guy could very well have gone for really creepy without a big smile. I mean, it's still not too late to make him creepy. You could just kind of fill in that fold and give him a frown, or, you know, a growl or something, you know, like a growly face or something like that. But that's not the way I want to go with this guy. I want him to be kind of a little goofy. It's kind of straightening it and cleaning it up a little bit. Yep. Keep some of them kind of pushed in. You can use this tool to help out too. Kind of just pushing the clay back a little bit into the mouth. You don't want this to be like a big, goofy, flat tooth right here. Sorry. Now, I want to do a little bit of cleanup and kind of get rid of some of the fingerprints a bit. And so I'll just go back in with the alcohol, kind of smooth things out. It's really kind of important with the teeth to kind of smooth things out, because, you know, teeth are, even if they're funky teeth, they're going to have a smooth edge to them. That enamel is going to be on there. So you kind of clean it up that way. Don't be afraid to put a lot in there to get it really smooth. I find it helps to go the length of the tooth instead of across it, because any type of little striations you make will look like the striations that are sometimes in teeth, in the enamel on teeth. But I think that'll work for him. I had thought about giving him a nose, but now seeing him with the teeth in there, I kind of think he doesn't need one. I may put nostrils. I'm just kind of blowing on the alcohol to make it evaporate a little bit, because sometimes it's easier to stick the new clay to the old if it's not completely soaked. What I can do is just take two little balls of clay that are roughly the same size. As I always say, it doesn't have to be perfect because nature is rarely perfectly symmetrical. So we have the two little balls of clay, and this is just testing. I haven't done this before because for the most part I've just been kind of doing this as we're working on it here. And let's see, I'll just kind of smoosh this on here to test it out. Kind of smooth that along there. Smooth this along here. And I'm going to see how he looks with nostrils. He's already looking kind of funny. He's almost like a caricature. But, you know, you could put a nostril right here. Just kind of build it in there. I don't know. I kind of like it. I think he's kind of funny looking with that on there. He almost, you know, when you have the nostril flare like that, it's almost like he's giving you one of those big cheeser grins, and I like that. Let me see how it looks with with one on each side. Let's see. Whew. Got a good guff of that alcohol right up my nose. That'll open my sinuses up. Yeah. Kind of like that. Sorry. See if I can pull some down like that. Kind of clean up that edge. Yeah. About that time again. Looking at the countdown clock, the timer on the the video. It looks like this is about as long as I can do talking before my voice just starts giving out. Yeah. You think? I kind of like him. I think he's goofy looking. Looks like he's got a big cheeser grin. Yeah, he makes me laugh, and that's important. So I'm gonna call it a day, or a video. I'll sculpt more later, but anyway, I'll call it for a while, and I'll put this guy in the oven and cure that clay, and we'll go back at it again. I hope everybody's enjoying these videos. I went in and I edited the actual the descriptions on all the videos in this series that I put in, and I've actually made a playlist with called "Sculpting a Critter," and so if you want to watch the playlist, you can put it in there and let it play the whole thing through. I did it this afternoon, and it's actually really fun to just kind of watch it all the way through. I've also added descriptions under each video, and this one will have it too after I edit it, but with links to my Instagram, my Facebook page, and to my store in case anybody wants to see any of the stuff I have there. Right now, I don't have any of my sculpts in the store, but I do have some of the stupid force figures I make, which are they're just sort of kit bashed figures. I take old cheapo, like thrift store toys, and then I rework them into new creatures, and I always try to have them be a little bit fun. And so, take a look over there and see if you like it. I like to think that my prices are pretty good. for the work that goes into them. So, you know, if you see something you want, throw it in your basket, and I'll ship it out to you. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Monsterforge out.